Blanchard, and if you read my book, My Time to Stand, then you will know that I have a rare genetic condition called microdeletion 1q21.1. What exactly is that? Okay, let's dive into that. So in
Gypsy Rose Blanchard has once again found herself at the center of public attention, but this time, the controversy isn't just about her past. It's about the inconsistencies in her own statements. For years, Gypsy maintained that she was perfectly healthy and that her mother, Dee Blanchard, had fabricated numerous medical conditions as part of an elaborate case of Munchausen by proxy. According to Gypsy,
small portion of the chromosome is affected. In my case, it's region 1q21.1. I was first tested for this condition back in 2012, and then again late last year, just to confirm that the first results were correct. So think of it as
Dee manipulated doctors and the public by falsely claiming her daughter was severely ill, forcing her to undergo unnecessary medical procedures while keeping her trapped in a world of deception and control. This narrative played a crucial role in shaping public sympathy for Gypsy and ultimately contributed to the widespread belief that she was a victim who had no choice but to escape her mother's abuse, even if it meant plotting Dee's murder. However, recent statements from Gypsy have raised significant questions about the truthfulness of her claims.
The area between 145.4 and 147.8. So where do I fall on that? Well, I don't fall exactly on that number, and I'll explain. So my results are just a smidge different than the standard.
In a surprising turn of events, Gypsy has now openly discussed her rare genetic disorder, 21q11.2 deletion syndrome, which she says has caused her to experience symptoms like microcephaly, an abnormally small head, and muscular dystrophy.
So I am affected through 145.927 through 147.828.
A condition that leads to muscle weakness and loss of mass. These are the very same conditions her mother once cited as justification for the various medical treatments Gypsy underwent, including surgeries, medications, and the use of a feeding tube.
Recently made a video explaining her microdeletion. I just wanted to touch on a couple of the things that were said and compare them to the evidence, the facts, the actual medical records. I was confused about the sliding scale comment because
the issue is that for years, Gypsy has vehemently denied having any real medical problems, insisting that her mother completely fabricated her illnesses for personal gain. But if she is now acknowledging that she does, in fact, have a legitimate medical condition, it raises the question.
Their disorder, you just have the disorder.
Unfortunately, there is a 50% chance that I may pass this genetic condition to my children. Thankfully, we are monitoring Aurora quite diligently, and so far, the geneticist has said that she does not display any of the characteristics of this condition.
Was everything Dee did truly unnecessary, or was there at least some medical basis for the treatments she insisted upon? One of the most striking contradictions in Gypsy's statements involves a medical test for muscular dystrophy. In the past, she has described this test as excessive and dramatized.
Medical issues wrong with me, and I believe that she used the microdeletion as a blueprint for them. And I kind of went over what I have versus what I don't have.
Something her mother forced upon her without any real medical necessity. She previously argued that Dee had subjected her to countless medical procedures purely for the sake of maintaining the illusion that she was sick. However, in a recent video, Gypsy contradicted her earlier claims by stating that the test was, in fact, necessary to determine whether she had muscular dystrophy. This admission fundamentally challenges her previous assertion that she was completely healthy and had been unnecessarily subjected to medical interventions. If the test was truly necessary,
a feeding tube put in if they are not getting enough nutrition and they are very, very, very sick. Also, if they have any of these other conditions or health concerns that could have led to them.
Then it suggests that at least some of Dee's actions may have been grounded in legitimate medical concerns rather than pure fabrication. Similarly, Gypsy has repeatedly stated that the feeding tube her mother insisted upon was entirely unnecessary. She has claimed in interviews and court appearances that she never needed it.
So I never had a stroke, never had dementia, never had a brain injury, never had head and neck cancer. And this goes back to the muscular dystrophy that we have already established that I never had and currently don't have.
And that it was simply another way for DD to maintain control over her. However, childhood photos of Gypsy show a severely underweight child, raising the possibility that her mother may have been trying to ensure she received adequate nutrition.
How did she say she was diagnosed in 2012, but her mom had been using this all her life for these medical issues? 2012, she was 20, right? She also said muscle dystrophy.
While it is clear that DD went to extreme and unethical lengths in controlling Gypsy's medical care, these new revelations suggest that some of the treatments she insisted upon may not have been as baseless as Gypsy originally claimed. Beyond the inconsistencies in her medical history, Gypsy's recent discussions about her own motherhood have sparked further controversy. She has openly acknowledged that her daughter could potentially inherit the same genetic disorder she has.
So that basically says that she doesn't have those issues, but muscle dystrophy is only Irish people get, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have weak muscle tone. Also said she doesn't have epilepsy, but that doesn't mean...
Revealing that she and her partner are closely monitoring for any symptoms. At the time of her video, no signs of the disorder had appeared, but Gypsy remains vigilant, emphasizing the hereditary nature of the condition. This revelation has fueled discussions about the long-term impact of her genetic disorder, not just on her, but on future generations.
Epilepsy is seizures, but seizures isn't necessarily epilepsy.
The fact that Gypsy is now actively concerned about passing on a disorder that she once denied having adds another layer of contradiction to her narrative. In an unexpected development, Gypsy also mentioned considering IVF for future pregnancies as a way to control the genetic outcomes of her children, ensuring that they do not inherit the disorder. This marks a significant shift in her perspective throughout her childhood. Medical decisions were made for her without her consent, yet now, she is positioning herself as someone who wants to take control of her children's medical futures.
Video basically shows, A, her mom didn't have Munchausen by proxy, and she's lied a lot.
While this demonstrates a desire to protect her children from the hardships she faced, it also raises ethical questions about how much control a parent should exert over the genetic makeup of their offspring. The contrast between her mother's alleged over-control of her medical treatments and Gypsy's own plans to selectively manage her children's genetics highlights a fascinating generational shift in the way medical decisions are made. Despite presenting herself as a devoted mother,
pass this genetic condition to my children. Thankfully, we are monitoring Aurora quite diligently, and so far, the geneticist has said that she does not display any of the characteristics of this condition.
Some of Gypsy's recent actions have led to public scrutiny. Just months after giving birth, she left her newborn at home to go on a date with her boyfriend, citing relationship struggles as the reason. This decision has sparked widespread debate, with many questioning whether she was prioritizing her personal life over her child's immediate needs. While many parents face relationship challenges,
I really don't like the idea of the possibility of continuing to play Russian roulette with the possibility that my child may end up having this genetic condition. My child can grow up living a perfectly normal life.
it is generally expected that a mother, especially one with a newborn, would put her child's well-being above everything else. The fact that Gypsy made the decision to leave her baby so soon after birth has led to concerns about whether she is truly committed to the responsibilities of motherhood. Adding to the controversy, Gypsy also left her infant daughter behind once again to travel to Los Angeles for a book promotion.
Conditions that are correlated with the genetic condition. And that's just something that I really don't want to play with. That's something that I don't want to leave up to chance. Not if I can help it. So most likely we'll have to do something like IVF so we can narrow down and actually select the genes of our future children to make sure they don't have this microdeletion.
While professional commitments are a reality for many parents, the timing of her decision has raised criticism, with many arguing that a new mother's focus should primarily be on bonding with and caring for her baby. Her choice to prioritize career opportunities over spending time with her newborn has led to speculation that she may be more interested in rebuilding her public image than in fulfilling her role as a mother.
Her new season, and she's asking for style advice and like how to apply makeup, but never once does she ask mothers how to travel with their babies. So I'm assuming she's not bringing her daughter with.
Gypsy's story continues to evolve, but the inconsistencies in her statements and actions have left many questioning how much of her past was exaggerated and whether she is truly in control of her life now or simply reshaping her narrative to fit her current reality. While she has long positioned herself as a victim of her mother's manipulation, the contradictions in her statements about her health, combined with her recent choices as a mother, suggest a far more complex and nuanced truth.
I've seen on here a video where the Gypsy stepmom had told someone that Gypsy reached out to Casey Anthony, and we all know what Casey Anthony did to her child.
Was Dee truly the villain Gypsy has painted her to be? Or is there more to the story than what was initially believed? The comparison between Gypsy and Casey Anthony has always been a hot topic. Both women were at the center of disturbing cases involving family members, but their legal outcomes were vastly different. Casey Anthony was acquitted of all charges related to the death of her daughter, despite public outrage and lingering suspicions about her involvement. Gypsy, on the other hand, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for her role in the killing of her mother, Dee Blanchard, and was sentenced to 10 years in prison, ultimately serving 8 before her recent release.
I mean, that's a little disturbing. And I'm not trying to put Gypsy down as a mother, but the video I saw her standing in front of the mirror holding the baby in that little thing.
Gypsy's case gained sympathy due to the shocking revelations about the abuse she endured at the hands of her mother, who subjected her to years of unnecessary medical treatments and manipulation under the guise of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. The media framed her as a tragic figure, an innocent young woman who saw no other way out of her abusive situation. But as she steps back into the public eye, her own words and actions are making people question just how much accountability she is willing to take. By calling out Casey Anthony, Gypsy appears to be positioning herself as morally superior, using her prison time as a badge of honor to distinguish herself from Casey, who never faced legal consequences.
Saying that she's never with the baby or detached from it and all this. Maybe she's going through postpartum. I don't know, because I don't know her, not in her life. But I'm just wondering, her reaching out to Casey, that's...
However, this comparison raises more questions than answers. While Casey's case remains shrouded in speculation, Gypsy's crime was clear-cut. She actively plotted with her then-boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to have her mother murdered. Though her motives were rooted in years of mistreatment, the fact remains that she orchestrated a violent crime that led to a devastating loss of life.
Somebody too, so she'd know better. There's a huge difference between Gypsy and Casey Anthony. Gypsy Rose is a victim who took matters into her own hands, and Casey Anthony is a pathological liar who's never taken responsibility for the death of her daughter. Okay, Gypsy Rose was abused her entire...
Some critics argue that by pleading guilty and avoiding trial, Gypsy took the easier route, sidestepping the intense scrutiny and public dissection that Casey Anthony endured. Instead of fighting to prove the full extent of her mother's abuse in a courtroom setting, she accepted a plea deal, which significantly reduced the time she could have faced.
Casey Anthony wanted to party and pop Xans, so I truly believe that she locked that baby in the trunk while she went to go party, and she came back and that baby was no longer with us. Then I think she took the baby home and put it in the pool until her family could find them. I truly believe...
While her decision spared her from the media circus that surrounded Casey, it also left lingering doubts about the full story and whether justice was truly served. What makes Gypsy's latest comments even more controversial is the way she continues to frame her time in prison as a form of redemption. While she undoubtedly paid a legal price for her actions, some believe she is using her sentence as a way to absolve herself of any deeper accountability. Her repeated insistence that she has done her time suggests that she sees her punishment as the ultimate proof of her moral standing, rather than fully reckoning with the emotional and ethical consequences of her actions.
That baby girl, she's irresponsible and a terrible mother, and the reason that little girl is dead is because she just wanted to simply party and live her fucking life. Okay? She quite literally lied the entire fucking time during that court case. She lied so much.
As Gypsy speaks out more in interviews and online posts, inconsistencies in her narrative are starting to emerge. While she continues to portray herself as a victim both of her mother's abuse and of the media's portrayal, her shifting stance raises concerns about her true motivations. Is she simply trying to set the record straight, or is she carefully shaping her public image to maintain sympathy? Some believe that by continually emphasizing her victimhood, she is deflecting from the harsher realities of her past, downplaying her own role in the crime while keeping the focus on the suffering she endured.
She worked at Universal Studios, so they walked around with her for so long trying to find her office that eventually she had to stop and be like, I don't work here, I'm lying. She even made up a coworker named Juliet and came.
Her decision to publicly compare herself to Casey Anthony has only intensified the scrutiny. By drawing attention to their differences, she inadvertently highlights the similarities to women at the center of infamous cases, both trying to reshape their narratives in the eyes of the public. Yet, in attempting to prove she is the better person, Gypsy risks exposing the contradictions in her own story. The more she speaks, the more questions arise, and rather than securing sympathy, she may be inviting more doubt about her true character. Despite her desire to move forward,
She's just a fucking liar who has never taken responsibility for the death of her daughter or responsibility for anything in her entire life. Do not follow this woman. Do not give this woman a platform. We kind of hype up Gypsy Rose, but Gypsy Rose, yes, she took the life of her mother, but she has paid her time and she is a victim. There's a huge difference.
Gypsy's past remains a defining part of her story. While she may want to close this chapter, public opinion is far from settled. Some continue to see her as a tragic figure who was pushed to the brink, while others question whether she is as remorseful as she claims. Her attempts to distance herself from Casey Anthony and position herself as morally superior only add another layer of complexity to her already controversial reputation. In the end, her road to redemption will take more than just serving time. It will require true accountability, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront the full weight of her past, rather than just the parts that make for a sympathetic narrative. Thanks for tuning in. What do you think about Gypsy Rose Blanchard's latest comments? Is she justified in calling out Casey Anthony, or is she just trying to control her own narrative? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the latest celebrity drama. I'll be back with more juicy stories soon. Until then, stay tuned and keep the gossip going. See you next time.